skin of the earth, formed by the decay of ancient rocks. Cover me. I am the earth, mother of soil, the foundation of every living thing. Shelter me from wind and rain and weathering, sand, silt, and clay, rich soil, water, and light, shining to grow these organisms big and tall, flowering, roots springing forth, holding soil together, crawling things bringing forth growth, becoming fruits and vegetables to feed the breathing, cucumbers, tomatoes, greens filling their bellies, strengthening the best part of them, vitamins and nutrients reflecting light in their eyes. I am Mother Earth, and I am free.
Everybody loves food. Everybody want to talk about how good their brunch was. Girl, did you taste them fresh farm eggs with them peppers that came out the back garden? Everybody loves the end product, but people don't think about what it took to actually provide that to you on the plate. Somebody had to tend to that chicken. Somebody had to turn this row. Somebody had to weed that bed.
I don't know how many millions of acres of arable, farmable land there are in the country, but it is more than enough to feed every single American a healthy diet. There's not enough access to produce, but there's plenty of land to grow it.
If you live in North Memphis, you know that there's a lack of retail. If you want to go to Kroger or Walmart or Target, you have to drive a ways to get there, and that's a big problem.
The sad thing is we tend to have things that are more fried, more processed, and our options are very limited. No one should really have to shop at Family Dollar for groceries. We've taken away the community aspects of businesses. It's all about profit.
Right here along the Knowledge Quest Kids Zone, roughly 0.83 square miles, there were 13 functioning convenience stores in that small amount of area.
Where do you get your groceries?
Well, there's a couple of different places, but we'll go to Walmart in West Memphis or in Millington or Raleigh-LaGrange.
I go to Aldi's, but I got to go out a little bit to get there. I go to the one on Austin P, I go to the one on Lamar, and I go to the one on Summer. I like their vegetables and their fruits.
So when a grocery store is coming into the community, grocers tend to use this formula of how many people will actually be attracted to the grocery store. There are a lot of different factors that go into that. So if a Trader Joe's wants to come into town, they're going to draw a perimeter around the community in which it's going to immediately serve. And that's what they're going to bank on. They're not going to bank on me coming from Cordova. And the numbers may appear different than they are. You see blight, you see paths that may be blocked to the stores even. They look at safety. They look at those types of things.
I grew up as the son of a gardener, a lifetime gardener. We fed the community, we fed ourselves from the soil of North Memphis. So I look at North Memphis like a tomato plant. That plant has produced fruit, and all the many wonderful people that have come from this area. In growing our tomatoes, we experience blight in certain seasons, especially like extra rainy seasons and such. And this plant has been feeding and growing and thriving, but I think the blight aspects that set in is when disinvestment happens. COVID-19 came, and obviously in a place where there's food insecurity, it gets hit harder than any other place. Let's say there's a 15-year-old that lives within the TIF district. That kid could go to a plethora of different restaurants around, grab a burger, go over to 2nd Street to Valerie PV spot, and be able to grab a salad and some fresh greens or a sandwich. During COVID, that all shut down. So now you've taken away pretty much the only opportunities to go get fresh food.
I live in Smoky City proudly, on the same street all my life. COVID-19 has wreaked havoc on our neighborhood. A lot of people in our neighborhood now are old, disabled. People can't get out. If they can get out and go to the store, it's nothing on the shelves. And plus, we are a food desert. As a matter of fact, the place we stand in used to be a grocery store.
We wanted to provide an opportunity for the people in the neighborhood to be able to eat locally. What we see with North Memphis, and it runs through the veins, is that we were able to provide 70 different families with CSA boxes of food, of fresh produce. And what we saw was in North Memphis Forum, people took those boxes and they took what they needed, but then they also shared with other parts of the community. So what we saw was probably around 200, 250 people be affected by these boxes in a positive way.
Hey, here we go. Okay, good stuff today.
All right,
Some
good.
more Purple Hub people.
Okay, good.
Okay,
all right.
darling.
Thanks a lot, y'all.
Okay, we'll see you later. This is a blessing for us to get the fresh produce out to the people. And I wish I could reach more. You know I love you.
I love you too. You're doing a great job. You're good. You are really, really good.
Well, thank you. We'll see you later.
All right, thank you.
When we look at farmers inside Memphis, we only have a few small family farms, or enough farms that would feed maybe about 100, 200 people. We are a city of 650,000 plus people. Nobody within our city limits, the whole 264 square miles of Memphis, there's not enough food production in our area. So if you're not growing in your backyard or in your community or for your community, then in times of scarcity, you won't have that available.
Because we don't have a grocery store in Northwest Memphis, I think anything that we can do to bring food to the neighborhood is a big thing.
It's not much that I'm doing. I'm just kind of stewarding everything, but the micro vibrations from the bee landing on the actual fruit coupling, it knocks the male part down to the female part of the flower and it pollinates it that way. So you could be out there strumming your guitar.
Bobby and Jaravia Rich have their urban farm, Black Seeds, that provides for food needs of people in the community.
You can literally sit anywhere. The vibrations of that right there is the same thing as a bee landing on there with its wings flapping.
The Uptown Lots Reimagined program really came out of looking at other communities and what they've done with vacant lots. When the CRA became its own independent agency, we inherited a lot of lots that were kind of the leftover lots. You couldn't put a house on them. They were little tiny strips of property. And as we thought about what to do with these lots, we thought, well, why don't we ask the community? What does the community want to do? What does the neighbors want to do?
This is a picture of my grandfather and my grandmother, Robert and Cora Freeman. They are the original owners of this house, of our garden. They moved to Memphis with hopes of providing a better life for themselves and their family.
If we get communities to understand that there are opportunities in markets to become urban growers, those growers would then be able to see the value of the work, the value of the land, the value of the water. Not enough people have that value. Jaravia and Bobby they see the value of the land.
We expect people to be so like high vibration and thinking about all this other important stuff, or what we think is like higher mind stuff. How can you possibly think of something higher mind when like your stomach is growling? These are like survival things that we're attached to. I have to eat, you know? And when you judge people based off these survival reactions that they're having, without asking the critical questions of why are they hungry? Why are people suffering like that?
I'm on the side of those who tend to believe that urban agriculture can turn both of these communities around.
We enhance the value of food by just exposing people to it and showing them the importance and the value of eating healthy produce.
This is a fun part for me. Like, growing it is cool and everything, but to harvest it, dry it out, this is the commune part of community. It removes that, but it replaces that with the convenience of me just being able to go here and get a burger and just go and take off.
I think black seeds represent the next generation of growers of North Memphis community. Bobby and Deravia, what they're building with Black Seeds is going to allow some 13-year-old boy, some 12-year-old girl to see something different and be able to innovate even further off of that, which only helps North Memphis.
See, I grew up in the country, and what my aunt used to do is, they call me Mary. Mary, go out there and give me some green beans. Well, I go get the green beans, she wash and put them in the pot. That's how we ate. Go get me a cabbage.
Yeah.
You brought back 2 cabbages, she was ready to cut it up and cook it.
Yeah.
We ate from the ground. What is this right here?
Kale is one of those new things that what they call a superfood. You know, these are little transplants right here, Miss Man. So what I did was just start them by the seeds and germinate them. Probably about a month ago.
Oh, you started this?
Ago. Yes, ma'am.
And is that pretty?
They shouldn't be in here this
like
long.
mustard green. I can take this out of here.
Yes, ma'am.
Put it in a bigger pot, and it'll steady grow.
And it'll steady grow. Look, we can tear this fish down. That need to be your garden right there, Miss Mary.
And you know what?
Look, you can cook. I know you can cook like
While
that.
you said that, I'm sitting up here thinking now, how can I do that and get a fence and put around there and take half of this and get? Do you know what that'll do for this neighborhood?
Yes,
Oh,
Miss
yeah.
Mary, it will attract so many people to not only look at what you have going on, but want to know.
It's inspirational too. They gonna want to go try to get them, tear them up some land.
The average person would come down this street and look at this area as blight.
Right.
Look at
That's
it
what
as
is.
a space that has been unmaintained, unkept, and uncared for. But when we, the founders of Black Seeds, look at this land, we look at this as opportunity, and we look at this as the future.
I come from the country.
Yeah, I know.
But it's been a long time.
Yeah, wow.
But see, you just digging up those memories. I'm just.
Oh man, I'm so glad to be
digging
part
up
of
those
it.
memories.
Wow.
What they're doing with their garden, the way that they're going to execute that from a community perspective, you can't beat what's going to come from that.
What I would like to see from the community around me is respect for the land. Even if you don't respect me as a person, I need you to respect the land, because we share that space.
One of the great things about the CRA is that they're just reimagining an area that's been there forever. And that's what a lot of us Memphians, what we need to do is reimagine what we have that's right in front of us. Memphis is full of hustlers. We have that innate hustle about ourselves. We're movers, we're doers here in Memphis. We should ascend for our ancestors. And that's exactly what I plan to do, is to continue to carry on the torch that my grandparents put into place.
But we really have to be the change we want to see. This is me trying to be that, thinking locally, acting global. This is me doing that.
I'm Mother Earth, and I am free. So who are you to decide who gets the best part of me? Who are you to put me out of reach? He who has seed and soil shall have access to me. I have given all that I am, owned by no human, yet I am for everyone. So take hold of me. Be the stewards of my beauty. And in all these things, and how you eat, and how you live, and how you survive, give equity. Because every person deserves these basic things. This is home. I am home. First name North, last name Memphis. My foundation stretches from down by the river on up to Midtown. In the old days, my people were German, Irish immigrants in every beautiful shade of brown, either left here by force and tyranny or traveled here for prosperity. This was a land of foreigners working for the promise. So I built a beautiful home with good bones to weather any storm and gave every room its own name. Bigford, Bearwater, New Chicago, North Parkway, Smoky City, Uptown, Greenlaw. Then came Harbortown and the Medical District. I watched over the people, how they loved and hated, how they desegregated just to separate. She was my complex community. But together we made Memphis's economy. It's funny how the ones you love can make you feel so alive and then snatch the air right out of your lungs. Redlined because of their brown skin, neighbors moved out, blight moved in. Then I noticed a huge tear in the wall called Danny Thomas, a divide between the full and hungry, considered and forgotten. How could I make things right? Remember when our schools and churches used to work in tandem, operated as a village, cultivating our sixth sense, a tribal code, inscribed in our story, dripping the ink of our fortune? Remember when Big Mama who drank her tea on the front porch used to be our guardian angel? She'd yell out to you whether you belonged to her or not. Darnell Antonio Johnson, get your hand out that girl's hair before I call your mama. Because everybody belonged to everybody. But today it seems my neighbors are just as strange as the folks across town. How can we get back to us?
I was just looking around the neighborhood and knowing what it used to be and seeing what it is now. It's real hurtful. What can I do? It's like I'm a one-man army, you know, fighting the whole cavalry.
And this was before my time. My mom used to tell me about this. But all these was houses. All this right here, grocery store on that corner, another grocery store on the other corner, barber shops, arcades, shoe shine shops, lounges, all the way up. This was like the mecca for everybody to come and get together and all that. This was 60s, 70s.
Back then it was like a community and like a family neighborhood. Everybody looked out to everybody. My parents could tell your children, their parents could tell us if they see us doing something wrong, they could chastise us, and you know, it was more family.
When you talking about the street raised everybody, if you did something down there, you probably got 3 whoopings before you got to your house.
We had a certain pride about our neighborhood, whether it was shotgun houses or one dwelling. It didn't matter. We loved where we came from.
I think any business that chooses to move in a neighborhood needs to be a part of the neighborhood. It needs to welcome the people in the neighborhood and to respect the people in the neighborhood. A business should look for ways to serve the community, not just take from the community. I think it's important that we work together. One of the first things that we tried to make sure we got the word out was the single-family rehab. We wanted people in the community to know that there are funds out there to get your house improved. And everybody's like, what's the catch? There is no catch. And so to explain what the CRA was and is, it helped a lot of people. And it's important for me, for the older residents in this community, to not get left behind.
Our program helps the homeowner to get the much needed repairs they need to have done to make their home safe, warm, and dry. They're receiving a $30,000 grant. Older home over 100 years old, it'll qualify for up to $50,000.
A lot of the people in the community, they're beat up and worn because they thought there was no light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm pretty elated about the fact that CRA come help you to develop your home. You're talking about putting economic value in your community.
There has to be an investment into those who've been there, to making sure that homes can be repaired, that infrastructure and right-of-ways and parks and things like that are taken care of in a way that allows people to maintain ownership in this area and maintain living in the area. There's also the balance of encouraging people to come in and invest in the area and be committed to what North Memphis is and become a part of the community.
My name is Sarah Ray, and I live on 7th Street. I moved into my home. It was very, very basic. When time permitted and money allowed, I put in a little upgrades. I've been here 15 years. Things started to decline.
Sarah Ray came to us. She was needing her floors done. She needed air and heat. And she was just, she couldn't afford it.
There were times in the summertime, I would have to close curtains and everything to get a coolness in the house. And you can forget about cooking.
We was able to come in and repair her floors.
My hot water heater was barely working, so they came in, replaced it.
Get her house painted.
I had wood rot in certain places, and they repaired that.
And give her a new HVAC unit.
In the winter, my home is warm, and in the summer, it's nice and cool.
That made her very proud.
I feel really, really fortunate that, I have something that I can call mine, and I never thought that could happen. I've just been so blessed. Now, all of those things that happen, it's gonna increase the value of my home. So I'm really just looking forward to so many more years here.
I think it's imperative that somehow we work out situations for homeowners to where they can stay in their property. Because if we don't, then we lose that wealth that we could pass on to the next generation. We see it so often, people pass and leave their properties to siblings or to their heirs, and they're not able to do anything with them themselves because they don't know where to start. So with it, they lose the property through taxes or just sell it because they can't afford to rehab it. And the net worth of a family decreases because they're not able to retain one of our number one investments.
I've been in North Memphis my entire adult life. I've been living in this house since 1968. It was two sides then, and then we made it one. Me and my husband stayed on one side, my mom and dad stayed on the other side.
The work that we're doing with Miss Owen's house had special conditions due to the fact that Miss Owen is handicapped.
As I was working one day, I stood up and my leg gave out. I could no longer walk. The doctors admitted me in the hospital. I stayed in the hospital for 25 days. They could not find out what was wrong with me. They still have not, as of today, know why my walking abilities left me.
Miss Owens is getting a full renovation. She's getting new roofs with new roof vents. We're making sure all her mortar joints on her bricks are solid and in good condition, installing windows, installing new exterior doors. In the interior, we're doing 2 bathroom remodels, 1 basic bathroom remodel, and an ADA accessible bathroom remodel, 2 kitchen remodels, 80% new sheetrock. We're installing new HVAC systems, and we're doing all new electrical wiring and so forth and flooring.
You know, it was my fault, but I just didn't have the money to take care of it. And I thank God for CRA. Oh, wait, I'm just so excited. Ooh, I'm just so excited. I mean, it's what I want. It's what I've always dreamed of having. And my home looking like this with a countertop and a roll-in bathroom. Oh my God. I love it. I mean, I can't stop saying enough about it. I love it.
In order for North Memphis to be able to thrive, we need more advocates for programs such as those that the CRA has in place for existing homeowners.
Leaving a legacy is crucial. I mean, the Bible speaks of leaving an inheritance for your children. We have first-generation homeowners that are leaving to second-generation homeowners. And people love this area and they want to remain here. And so they just need the resources to be able to sustain their homeownership.
My daddy left his house to me. He always talked about fixing it up. We was patching it up. We wasn't doing no good. It was built in 1922. I always was telling him I'm gonna fix this house up even if I had to do it myself.
It was in really, really bad shape. It was about to collapse. He didn't even realize how bad a case it was. Lightning had struck his power box and knocked out his electrical. And he couldn't afford to get it fixed. And so he had been living in a home about 4 or 5 years without electricity, running off a generator.
The only thing they had was cold water. They didn't have any electrical. The sewer was inoperable. The big trees and the roots collapsed the sewer drains and so forth. And it had been like that for some time. Like, the house really was in a condemned state.
I'm trying my best, and I know I am, to try to live the rest of my life doing good. And I want my kids, my family, to do the same thing.
Today was a great kickoff with that family coming back into their home, Mr. Martin and the kids. That was just beautiful because they have such a new living space and you can just see the level of excitement. It's gonna instill pride.
I'm 65, I'm very tired, but I'm proud now. I really am. I feel like I ain't got to scuffle real hard like I've been scuffling. Everybody come and tell me, man, you're gonna have a heart attack. You're gonna have a stroke. I'd be out here 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning working on stuff for my family. Now I feel like I can rest. I really do. I ain't gotta scuffle hard no more.
It was just all over his face. He could not believe that he was basically walking into a new home.
Wow. Man, I don't believe it.
The sense of pride that those kids felt, it was just heartwarming. And all the partners that contributed to furnishings and different things that family needed, it was just overwhelming. And that's another, just a prime example of the impact that the CRA is doing in the community and the partners that are getting behind the program. It was huge, I love it. And so the more that grows and the word spreads, that's just gonna give people a reinvigorated sense of pride in home ownership. And that's so important. Again, it stabilizes neighborhoods.
It is the community's responsibility to build up the community. And I think when we keep looking at what are they doing, we are the they.
My hope is that pride be spread even further. We have some people who love their community, and I'd like the next generations to be able to attach themselves to that same love, pride, and desire to elevate the community, to continue to build the neighborhood.
I feel like I'm indebted to my city. Grew up in the Smoky City, Greenlaw, Fraser areas. I can't leave my city behind. It's just that I remain here in my city and advocate for areas that I stay in right now.
I feel good. I really do. That's the reason why I know I'm finna do good. Everything I'm gonna try to do from now on is gonna be good. Cause I never thought this would have really happened. And it did.
I heard somewhere that bad foundations are often caused by soil. Heavy winds and rain make for shaky ground, and Lord knows we've weathered some storms. So maybe, just maybe, if we firm up the ground, we can save our home. Because this is good soil, fertile ground, I know. My name is North, last name Memphis, and I want to live. Will you be my breath? My soil is rich, my roots run deep, my heart lives here, North Memphis. I'm home.
I grew up in a neighborhood full of love. They still labeled us a neighborhood full of thugs. The biggest misconception. Because when I think of North Memphis, most of my memories are good. Playing in the street all day, walking to the corner store for stuff I know I shouldn't eat. Familiar faces on every block. And I always going to bed with the full stomach. Because you know, grandma's hands always made something out of nothing. See, my childhood memories feel more like a dream though, you know, a fantasy. It's hard to remember the past when the present is so loud. And could I raise my kids on this block? Probably not. What school would pave the way for their education? What church would shape their heart? What park would keep them safe? What neighbors would know their name? Why would I stay here when there's better opportunities elsewhere? More possibilities? Man, ain't nothing here for me. Not for a family, at least.
They got a stigma about North Memphis. Drug infested, prostitution, heroin addicts. Don't walk around, you might get robbed and stuff like that. But it's just really not like that.
About, I guess, 80, 85, so that's when the drugs started hitting. We had one of my best friends that house, his new house, the last one, and that's where we started selling drugs and all the negativity came. A friend of mine got shot. Well, we got shot. We got caught up in some stuff right here. And turned around, my friend granddad and got killed from it, behind it the next night.
The only thing I don't like about the neighborhood is I found a bullet hole in my roof last week.
About 2 years ago, there was a drug house right the corner right there. I mean, it was very infested. And the police knew that. And even when we were going to the meetings, we were turning in these areas. And it took them about 2 years to clear that up. That takes away a lot of pride in your community. So until we clean up a lot of that, you don't feel safe.
It was like real neighborhood, like when we was going to high school, but now it's just blight.
This used to be Conley engines, and they built motors for race cars, all kinds. And they had a lot of people working in the neighborhood, right? And when it closed down, it really took the last job.
Sometimes people come through and stop, and I don't know why they'd yell at me, and they'll say, hey, I used to live in Hurt Village, and I knew these people lived in this house right here. When it was built, they thought it was a great thing, but it was just too much concentration of poverty.
Poor infrastructure and blight often go hand in hand. As infrastructure starts to degrade, it can drive people to move away to new areas of the city. And when populations fall, less investment is made into the infrastructure, and it becomes a vicious cycle where more people leave the area.
You can't run a business and you don't have people around there that's going to support it. That's one of the reasons why you don't have stores and stuff here, because the income that got so low and it was so many people moving out that you couldn't support the grocery stores and stuff like that.
Infrastructure is like the skeleton of a city. It's what helps inhabitants live their daily lives as members of society. So things like roads, water mains, internet fiber, things that help us get up in the morning, turn the kitchen sink on, get from home to work, and then get safely home at night. But as different parts of the cities start to age, the infrastructure falls into disrepair. And what happens is people living in those areas are more inconvenienced by the issues in the infrastructure. These slow declines stop an area from kind of being its best self.
The city of Memphis is on every commercial, industrial developer's list. It sits in one of the best locations in the United States. Everybody looks at Memphis and says, I want to be there. But then they get here and they see a broken city. They drive down our streets and they're running through potholes. You know, they want to put a facility in a location and the sewer's not there, the water's not there, the electrical's not there. When they see that, they walk away because they can go to another city that doesn't have those issues. We need to fix all those things so that when somebody comes here to live or work, okay, this place has got it together. This is where I want to be.
We moved here on Lee Street a month after Martin Luther King was killed. The city was undergoing a lot of violence. So my mom and my dad found the house on this street to give us that sense of safety first.
We are investing in revitalizing this neighborhood. Leet is the second street that we have done a cleanup on. Our first street was Leon Place.
Lee Street is experiencing a change that I knew it was going to happen, but not this big and not this soon. It's some new ideas and new visions, new people coming to the rescue of our street, and we're just revitalizing, rebuilding, restructuring.
Basically, Block Wellness is us providing infrastructure and use of sidewalks, public spaces, and looking at the block approach with that. On this block, there are 3 vacant houses, 2 vacant lots that are overgrown. There's a couple of sidewalks that are busted up. There's no ADA compliance.
I've lived on Leon off and on for 54 years. Everybody knew each other. Everybody walked to school together and went to each other's parties and stuff. Wasn't afraid to walk to the store from neighborhood to neighborhood.
There's pockets of neighborhoods, but it's not a holistic neighborhood anymore. And how do we bring everybody back together to become a neighborhood again?
So we literally are going in and evaluating a block and saying, okay, how can we fix your sidewalks? How can we trim the trees or remove dead trees that may be of nuisance, which cause rodents and insects and nuisance to arise? How can we mitigate the grass that's been grown up beside a grandmother's house?
Overgrowth is blight in and of itself, but what overgrowth does it impacts people on a couple of different levels. It's just this overall sense of disorder when you've got stuff just growing everywhere, it's all unkempt, but it also tends to block sight lines. So people can't see what's happening. That's good for some people who don't want folks to see what they're up to, but it's not good for your ordinary pedestrian who just wants to walk down the street without any trouble. They want to be able to see what's happening around them. Another thing that happens with overgrowth that was really problematic was that the overgrowth would just completely block the sidewalk. Then you don't have what we call natural surveillance or eyes on the street to deter that criminal and antisocial activity. And it just kind of snowballs to the point where you end up with what feels like a desolate wilderness in the middle of the city.
Everybody just needs to keep their property up. If everybody kept their property up, our street would be just like it used to be.
If ain't nobody in the neighborhood cutting their yard, and I start cutting my yard every week, well, guess what? The next man gonna see me cutting up my yard. And all of a sudden, you got a manicured neighborhood.
I really love our elders, and I think they have such a wealth of knowledge. And so doing this work allows us to be able to communicate even further with elders who may be a little bit more reserved and kind of standoffish from our younger generation, but being able to come in and hear what their needs are, be able to mitigate some of those needs has been quite rewarding.
I've been living on Lee Street ever since 1968. If God says so, I am coming 92. I raised my family here, mother of 5. My husband, he worked at Firestones. I worked at Jackson Cookie. The neighbors were so close. So it was just a lot of going on around, and it was real good.
There's so many stories of a senior that's 80 years old who they've been here for 40 years. And during that 40 years, they've trimmed their trees. They've made sure that even if it wasn't their lot and it was vacant, they took care of it. But now that they're up in age, and I hear it so much, we really appreciate that. We've been upkeeping this for 40 years, but we just can't anymore.
I'm too old to get out of here. I used to keep the yard up, but now I can hardly go out there. It means so much to us. You know, we could keep it up with a little help.
Yes, it's a big deal.
Yeah, everybody on Lee Street excited. I talked to neighbors down the street on the end. They talking about how excited they were that y'all were coming over here today to help us out to get our street back to how it used to be.
We have done some things I believe that residents are not able to do, such as cutting trees down. You know, it is very expensive in taking a tree down. We're talking about $8,000 to $10,000.
People are not keeping their house up because they lazy or shiftless or whatever you want to call it. They just ain't got it. They just ain't got it. Number one is probably paid for, and they know they can't go nowhere else and live off of the check they got. So they doing all they can to stay in their house.
I would love to keep it up all the time because I love my neighborhood. I love my neighbors.
I just hope they keep just doing the sidewalks and cleaning out the blight, because it got real bad. I just hope everybody just stick together and, you know, try to make the neighborhood a better place and a safer place especially for the elderly and the kids.
We are. Facts.
We're Lee Street.
We Lee Street.
We're Lee Street.
For life. Yeah. When people talk to us here in town or know that we here, they know where to find us.
Mm-hmm.
They'll just pull up.
Always home. I love it.
You're always home.
I won't live to see our neighborhood come back like it was. That's my dream.
I don't want to live to see the neighborhood die. The work of past generations, a distant memory. This is our home. We must take ownership, buy back the block before somebody else do it. It's ours. Ours to keep, ours to take pride in, restore to the fullest degree. Let's keep the culture of North Memphis unique because it's our culture. Make it better, safer, and cleaner. So yes, I grew up in a neighborhood full of love. But please come correct when you label us a neighborhood full of thugs.